What if events went differently in Avengers Infinity War when Thor created Stormbreaker? What if Thor had found a new weapon that would help him in his quest for revenge against the Mad Titan Thanos? Today in episode 9 season 1, we will dive deep into this highly requested Marvel's What If, my fellow watchers, and ask the question, what if? When Thor, Groot, and Rocket arrived at Nidavillir, they were rather surprised to find that once lively forges of the dwarves desolated. As they searched to understand what was going on, suddenly they were attacked from behind by a dwarf. The fight happened for a few moments. In a while, the dwarf named Eitri was able to realize he was battling none other than the god of thunder, and he quickly retreated. A concerned Thor asked him what had happened to this place, and Eitri responded by saying that Thanos massacred the entire dwarves' population, after forcing them to create the Infinity Gauntlet for him. Eitri was left as the sole survivor, and his hands were melted by Thanos to prevent him from designing another weapon ever again. Thor sympathized with the dwarf, but he noted that he needed to create a weapon now, so that he would be able to battle Thanos. However, Eitri thought that it was pointless trying to defeat him, and that they should all be comfortable with their imminent defeat. Thor noted that he was not just going to not give up, he was going to create the Stormbreaker, with or without Eitri's help. From the looks of things, Eitri was frightened of the possibilities of Thanos winning and returning to kill him. If Thor planned to battle Thanos, Thanos would find out that Eitri created a weapon for the god of thunder. He could not have that. Thor instantly became frustrated. It was clear that he had a temper now, but who could blame him? He had just seen Loki die, for real this time, and Thanos had to pay for what he did, and now, this dwarf was denying him justice. Thor could not have that. As soon as Eitri noticed Thor was taking menacing steps toward him, he picked up a mini containment case from a corner and moved it backwards. Groot stood in front of Thor and tried to reason with him to leave the dwarf alone. Groot, of course, was focused on his game. However, Thor wasn't ready to reason with Rocket. He enjoyed what he was doing. He knew that by moving toward Eitri, he was inspiring fear in him, and that fear would probably motivate Eitri to do what he wanted. He was so wrong. As he took another step forward, Eitri opened the case and threw its containments at Thor. A black figure immediately found itself on Thor's face, making its way into his body system through his ears. Thor collapsed on the floor, with Rocket rushing to his side. Eitri used the opportunity to run away. Thor began to see dreams of events he would have rather forgotten. First, he could see himself destroying the Bifrost Bridge, holding on to Odin's staff as he held Loki. Before he could speak, Loki had to let go of Thor's hammer and fell into the abyss. Thor screamed as he witnessed this scene all over again. However, that was not all. Second, he found himself in a hallway. Here he could see his mother on the floor, with Odin crying over her. Thor could not contain the sadness he had in his heart, and he remembered her death. Why was he seeing this all over again? Then he found himself on a cliff with Loki. Sitting with them was Odin, saying his farewell to his sons, and once again, Thor held his breath as he watched his father turn into nothingness. The destruction of Asgard was the next thing Thor saw in his visions. He could see the fire raining down on Asgard, the large fiery demon destroying every structure in sight. The last thing he saw before he snapped awake was Thanos killing Loki. When Thor opened his eyes, he could see Rocket standing over him, very concerned. Rocket asked how he was doing, and Thor noted that he was feeling better than ever. "Are you sure?" a whisper voiced in Thor's ear. At that moment, Thor looked around sharply, wondering where the voice came from. He asked Rocket if he heard anything, to which Rocket responded in the negative. "I'm inside you, damn it," the voice said again, and Thor immediately opened his mouth in shock. Before he could respond, he realized A black-like alien form was growing out of his arms. They extended into a hideous face with tons of teeth. A symbiote, Rocket gasped. When Thor asked what those were, the symbiote responded by noting that it was a biological weapon, merging with the right person and coexisting with the person. This symbiote had found the right host, for which host was better than for the god of thunder? Eitri came out of his hiding place, surprised at what beheld him. A long time ago, the dwarves had tried to merge with the symbiote, but they had all died in the process. If the god of thunder could contain the symbiote, then maybe he was strong enough to defeat Thanos. Eitri bowed, noting that he was ready to create a weapon for Thor. Thor smiled, his eyes white, as electrical volts began to circulate through his body. He said he had already found a new weapon, menacingly smiling. The war against the Outriders was getting more intense as time passed. The Avengers and the warriors of Wakanda knew at that moment they were outnumbered. It was only going to take a miracle to help them now. They were quite surprised when a bright light appeared, and soon enough, the god of thunder was standing amidst the battle, the Stormbreaker in his hands. Perhaps what shocked them more, when Thor transformed into a hideous creature, using the Stormbreaker and his newfound abilities to face Thanos' forces. It didn't take long before Thanos arrived at Wakanda. On reaching, Vision quickly instructed Wanda to destroy the Mind Stone. Taking his life before Wanda could do it, Thor immediately stepped into the picture, extending one arm to knock out Wanda, and another to take Thanos' gauntlet. With the full force of his lightning all over his symbiotic arms, Thanos could not resist. And in a shocking twist, Thor summoned all of the lightning he could, and he mustered all of his strength through Stormbreaker, enclosing it with the symbiotic arms, and sending it towards the Mad Titan. Thanos' head rolled on the floor swiftly. As Shuri examined Thor, she informed him that the symbiote had merged with him for good, and there was no way to take it off. Thor sighed, knowing that at least he was able to stop Thanos from achieving his goals. But he was a god with the power of Stormbreaker and the symbiote. He was a monster that people would soon fear. A monster that I would use if needed. And that is going to be Season 1, Episode 9. Of What If Thor had found a different weapon of Nidavillir. What do you think would have happened if Eitri gave Thor the symbiote? What if the symbiote had been in the MCU sooner, rather than a No Way Home credit scene? What do you think could have happened in this alternate scenario if Endgame didn't happen? Do you think that Thor Love and Thunder would be very different if Thor had the symbiote? Maybe he would be giving Jane Foster the anti-venom suit? If you guys did enjoy this video and want to see more, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. Anyways, as always guys, thanks for tuning in and have a fantastic day.